Good morning to all of you. We meet now for a panel discussion on the statewide protocol on prevention approach for action against the menace of drugs. We have got very eminent speakers. The time available to us is short, so I will also be brief. I'll just start off this session by saying a few things on which I hope the panelists will respond as they give their presentations. The first is, all the persons represented in the panel are one on the side of social defense. The other two are on the side of enforcement. From my experience as a police officer, I have realized that there are limits to enforcement, and that the preventive approach will, in the long run, be more successful to meet the menace of drugs. As you all know, the NDPS Act is the most draconian act enacted in India in the 20th century, and it is beaten in the 21st century by the UAPA. But in the 20th century, the prize for the most draconian act goes to the NDPS Act. But unfortunately, despite the severity of the act has not been successful in either eliminating or in reducing or in solving the problem of drugs. So in its ultimate purpose of prevention of drug abuse or substance abuse, it has not succeeded. This is not to say that none has been sincere. There has been a lot of effort going on. Very, very great work has been done by the NCB, by the state police departments, the state excise departments, and a lot of effort has gone into it. But still, because of certain basic weaknesses, I will identify two weaknesses. One is that the Act in its sections does not make a distinction between the consumer, between the addict, between the peddler, between the conspirator, between the distributor, the producer. In a drug transaction, all these fellows are involved at some stage. But the Act just puts all of them together in one lot and prescribes a punishment. Therefore, the investigation rarely goes into the question of the nature of the offense conducted by the accused. And usually, therefore, 80 to 90% of the people arrested in NDPS Act offenses happen to be drug addicts and casual drug users who ought to be considered properly as victims and have to be treated out of this condition in which they are in. But unfortunately, we continue to fill our jails with people who should be treated as victims rather than as offenders. Though there is a provision for it. The Act provides for rehabilitative treatment, but we hardly ever use for that. And second weakness of the Act is, the Act makes a distinction between small quantity and large quantity. This is a distinction not known to Indian police in its criminal history, because we have been following the Indian Penal Code for our basic responses, and in theft, or in breach of trust, or in robbery, or in dacoity, the offense is not defined in terms of the size of the seizures, or the amount of property stolen, or the amount of money cheated, or amount of money misappropriated. That invariably is left to the court to decide to rate, to graduate the punishment with the actual nature of the offense. But here, the small quantity is defined, and therefore even a great conspirator caught with a small quantity will get benefit of the Act, or a cultivator, or a producer, or a distributor caught with a small quantity will get the benefit of the small quantity. So these two weaknesses in the Act have stylely made the enforcement of the Act. It is very, very elaborate, but at the same time, it has prevented achievement of the focus. Again, I was the special rapporteur for National Human Rights Commission for 2 years, and I had occasion to visit large number of jails in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And I found that a fairly large percentage of the jail population are people who have been regularly arrested under the NDPS Act. I would like to believe that they are confirmed sellers or peddlers. But unfortunately, my suspicion is that most of them are actually addicts, and who go in for repeated use and who are arrested by police or enforcement agencies repeatedly. I found very few people who have been involved in large-scale transactions in jails. So there is a need for adopting a preventive approach. At the same time, all is not dark. There are very, very good silver linings in this field, because many agencies, I personally know the State Excise Department of Kerala, the State Police Department of Kerala, both have been in the forefront of popularizing a preventive culture, a socio-cultural involvement in the matter of drug menace in schools and in society in general. The Kerala Police has formed, as you know, the Student Police Cadet Project. One of its activities is also anti-drug campaigning among students. We have also formed two very eminent doctors who are associated with the project, the ORC, Our Responsibility to Children. They are also in this audience. From them, we can learn about the efforts the ORC is also making to prevent drug abuse among children, and it is a project with a lot of potential for that. The State Excise Department has launched a program called Vimukti, which is also stressing on prevention. So the preventive aspect of enforcement and the coordination needed among the various agencies is a matter of great importance if we want to create a society which is free from the drug menace. Punishing the victims and putting people in jail is very important. It is very, very important. I'm not diminishing its importance at all. But at the same time, if we want to have a safe future for our generations, we must take note of the fact that the number of offenses detected are increasing day by day. Not because the production is increasing, but because the law by itself has not been able to spread, has not been able to prevent the spread of this drug menace as a contagion. So there are limitations of law. There are limitations of enforcement and deterrence, and therefore we must stress on prevention. So with these few words, I will call the panelists who are each expected to speak for 10 minutes each. It is my pleasure to call upon Dr. Veerendra Mishra of the Indian Police Service, who is the director of the National Institute of Social Defense, who has got a lot of experience in the police, both in India as well as a researcher abroad. He has been associated with terrorism prevention, transnational crime. He was also a Fulbright scholar, and I'm sure, as the director of the National Institute of Social Defense, he will share his thought with you, which will be very useful for our deliberations. Dr. Mishra, thank you. I will also call Mr. Bruno Albert, who is the zonal director of the Narcotics Control Bureau based in Chennai. It's also my pleasure to call upon Sri D. Rajeev to present himself on the stage. He is from the Indian Ordnance Factory Service, now on deputation with the Government of Kerala, and is the Chief Executive Officer of the Vimukti mission, which I referred to, and he is also the Additional Excise Commissioner, Government of Kerala. Now I call upon Dr. Mishra to speak. Dr. Mishra.
Thank you, and good morning to all. I can see many young faces here. So I would like to address them more because it's going to be very relevant to them. So my job has been made little easy as well as difficult after Mr. Khagesh's, director from Ministry's presentation, because he has already spoken about what an ISD is. So I don't know exactly, maybe I may overlap. And it's little difficult because I don't know then what I'm supposed to speak. So anyway, I will try my best. So basically, what is the government's approach? So the government's approach is two-pronged, which has already been spoken by him. One is to check the supply, that is to control supply, and the second is demand reduction. The supply control is done by various agencies, particularly the enforcement agencies, which involve the revenue police and NCB. And we already have a revenue officer here. We have NCB representation, and police is also here. So we have two police officers here. So all the enforcement agencies which are supposed to look at the supply side are on the dais. And drug demand reduction activities are carried out by Ministry of Health, Social Justice and Empowerment, and the other concerned sectors. And so I'm again like representing both the police as my primary cadre, and right now working in Ministry of Social Justice and Enforcement. So my more focus is on drug demand reduction. And the other sectors, when we say other sectors, means like, health, of course, and besides all the people who are sitting here, most of them who are coming from NGOs and community-based organizations, civil society. So you are our partners here. Now, what NISD does, National Institute of Social Defense. So NISD is basically an autonomous body under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India. And the mandate is to provide technical support to the ministry's programs on substance abuse prevention. We do have additional mandate as well, so we are not talking about that because we are just focusing here on drugs. Otherwise, just to add to it, we work with elderly people. We have in our mandate transgender as well as PEGRI, though we are not focusing much on that right now. So it is elderlies and the drug prevention. So drug prevention is our, a main focus area right now of National Institute of Social Defense. And we totally bank on intersectoral collaboration because as in the morning, the presentation, they were saying that, okay, we cannot work in silos. If you're talking about drug demand, so you cannot isolate yourself and think that, okay, you are the only, protagonist and you just move in the field and you can change the world. No, it cannot happen. When we talk about drugs, the drug itself, the supply chain, if you understand it, it's an organized crime. So there are so many people who get involved for the drugs to be floated in the market, to be, to push the people to consume. So similarly, if you have to reduce the demand, then certainly you have to be organized equally. So you have to counter it in an organized way. And so that is why you cannot work in silo. So you have to have these intersectoral collaborations, and that is why we focus a lot on convergence of services and forging linkages. We work on unified monitoring framework so that we know exactly, evaluate and do some social audit where exactly we stand after a certain period of time of implementation. And when promoting networking stakeholders, this is very important component of our work, what NISD is doing. So what are the preventive strategies to decrease demand reduction? One is we share the knowledge and skills. And let me tell you, when we say share knowledge and skills, at the same time, we are also on the learning curve, and we also try to learn and improve and enhance our skills as well, and enhance our knowledge as well. That is, we say research is again a very important component of NISD. So whatever we learn, we try to share with our stakeholders. And then developing decision-making and behavioral skills. That is one, again, important component, because just sharing knowledge doesn't work in demand reduction. What is important is that the decision-making skills and the behavioral change is important component. Just knowledge sharing about drugs won't encourage a person to abstain from drugs. It doesn't go that way. It is basically you have to empower them. And then building positive relationships with our stakeholders, with the community, so that there is trust developed, there is no trust deficit, because most of the problem with the government organization and the community is that there is a huge trust deficit. Even within NGOs, there is huge trust deficit. So important component is that there should be trust. Then only the intersectoral understanding and collaboration works. And supporting positive activities and changing the environment. And when we talk about changing environment, of course, everyone sitting here and every community member has an important role to play, because environment is built through your presence. Now, as Mr. Khagesh talked about National Action Plan on Drug Demand Reduction, this is what is the Government of India has, the Ministry of Social Justice has launched recently, and this is this has been implemented or promulgated just with an intention to focus completely on drug demand reduction. So they have come out with an action plan. So what does it aim? It aims to reduce the onset of drug abuse by early identification and early intervention. This is very important. Why do we need to reduce the onset of drug, basically intake? It is because it is said, I mean, study says, I don't know like if Dr. Atul mentioned about it, because it doesn't, I don't remember that he mentioned about it. But still, if he has mentioned, it makes sense to reiterate that if a person under 18 takes drugs, then the chances of them leaving the drug is little difficult. And if the person above 18 takes the drugs, then the chances of him, leaving the drug is more. So that is why if at all a person has to take drug, I mean, has to means like, if you can't stop them totally, completely from taking drugs, at least delay it. That is why we say that if you want to do some intervention, start at an early age. So this is one of the major component of our action plan. And then reduce the adverse consequences of drug abuse through a multi-pronged strategy. And that would involve preventive education, treatment, and rehabilitation of individuals and families, building capacities, facilitate research, and whole person recovery. We haven't done much on research, but already, while sitting with a friend here in Excise, we said that, okay, he said that we would like to do research. I said we would like to partner. So we are forthcoming, we are inviting research, we want to do research, we want to build a capacity on the basis of evidence, not just on the basis of hearsays. Because most of the time we work, the way government works, I mean, that is my experience of being in services for years, is that we go intuitive. We think that, okay, if we have heard something, or in our experience 10 years back, if we have seen something, we think the same thing still remains, but actually it doesn't. The social dynamics is so fast that what was 10 years before is not exactly what it is right now. So our policies and our action should be totally dependent on research. So NISD plans to do that, and we will go very aggressively on research as well. So the activities of NAPDD is more focusing on preventive interventions, and that is we build the capacity and TOT of our stakeholders, and then do the awareness campaigns through them and even directly. And in the treatment centers to create minimum standards of care, which would involve facilities of resource essential to be established, a variety of programs and frequencies, specific roles and responsibilities. So everything be put in a proper framework, and then we empower them, educate them, and sensitize them so that the proper care is given in the treatment centers. So we have we play the role in treatment centers as well as in the preventive field. So what are the categories of preventive interventions that we do, or the programs? One is universal prevention programs, means in general, when we talk about in general. So how do we cater to general mass? We may have many verticals, we may have many stakeholders, but if you use the term general. But here, again, the second is the selective prevention programs. As Mr. Khagesh talked about, the TI, targeted intervention, that we have ODIC and PLIs. That is, ODIC is outreach centers and drop-in centers that we are creating across the country. And right now we have identified 127 districts, the high-risk districts, where we are going to focus on targeted intervention. And second is the PLIs, that is peer-led interventions, where we are going to empower, we are going to educate, we are going to take the resources of the peers so that they can spread awareness. And when we talk about peers, as the question was asked on the first day, the important peers that we are banking a lot on are ex-users. So the ex-users, because they have their experience, they know how it works in the field, so they would be our peers so that they can educate, their own group there. Even the acceptability increases. So our partners are many. As I told you, we are spreading ourselves thin. We have a target. We have to reach many people. India is a big country, but we can't be, complacent saying that, okay, we did 1,000 programs or something like that. What we plan is to have more than 6,000-7,000 programs a year. And for that, we need many, many partners. And we want to reach each section of the community. And, to schools through NCRT and SCRT. These are the bodies in the state as well as the country head NCRT. So we reach school through them. The NSS and NYK, as I told you that NSS is working in educational institutions, is the biggest body in the world. And NYK is again working in the rural sector. These are the organizations of Ministry of Youth, Government of India, having almost 4 million youth associated with them. Then the NIRDs and SIRDs are the Panchayati Raj institutions, that is the local self-government bodies. And then enforcement agencies, as we said, police and the paramilitary forces, prison settings, child welfare institutions, important because under the JJ Act, there are two type of vulnerable children in the country. One is who is in need of care and protection, whom we call it as CNCP kids, and the other ones are like, who are in conflict with law. So there are two bodies who govern, take care of them. One is the CWC Child Welfare Committee, and the other one is the Juvenile Justice Board. So we want to empower them, we want to sensitize them as well. And similarly, the RRTCs, a couple of them are sitting here. RRTCs are the regional centers for us who build the capacity of their own, in their own jurisdictions. And the NGOs, we are partnering with NGOs also of repute. So, there are different outcomes, but let me tell you, because, sir, I have 3-4 minutes more? Yeah, so I'll just, before winding up, I tell you, why do we need a state protocol? The state protocol is because we want some uniformity. We cannot just hand over the programs to some stakeholders and say that, okay, you conduct an awareness program in your place. It doesn't work that way. We have to have some mandate on some proper format in which it should be catered. And at the same time, we give around 20% space to customize as per the local needs. And with this, what actually is in the mind of the NISD or the government of India goes to our stakeholders as well. So let me give you an example of when we work with police, how do we do that? It's a three-pronged approach or three objectives in our program with police. One, the police is the first respondent, if you see that. So police always would be the first one to come in contact with the drug dependent or drug user, formally from a government point of view. So we would like to sensitize them and tell them, okay, look from a different lens, as sir was saying. It is not a criminal justice system problem. As we said, it's a social justice system problem. So you are not supposed to look at them as an offender. Start looking at them as a victim. The moment you change your lens, so your approach will change. Your answer to their problem will change. Then you would more be interested in sending to a rehabilitation center or treatment center rather than putting them behind the jails. So this is one objective of when we interact with police. This is what we tell them. The second one is that police has maximum presence in the community, identified presence in the community of government, because they wear the uniform so everybody would recognize them. So we say that the role that you can play in prevention, nobody else can play because you are identified easily. So we tell them, okay, start playing a role for prevention. And the third is, you come out of the denial mode. Even the police officers or the police personals are into drugs. Let me tell you, very recently, and this was an eye-opener to me, sir, and I would like to share with you, that when an officer from Mizoram came and he said, Mizoram is a state in northeast, for the people who have come from different countries. And in that state, the strength of the police is around 7,000 to 8,000. And every year, more than 100 police officers are dying because of drugs. Can you imagine the percentage of people dying due to drugs? Now it has come, everybody has started realizing in Mizoram, so they're talking about it. It could be prevalent anywhere. So we are asking the police that, okay, start identifying and don't be in denial mode. Even within your community, there is a problem. So this three-pronged approach, that is how we work with police. That is how we create a module. So similarly for prisons, and when we talk about ICPS is Integrated Child Protection System, then we say that, okay, the JJB members who are dealing with the children in conflict with law and the CWC, that is the Child Welfare Committees, we say that when you come in touch with the children, then if at all, first you should know how to identify if at all he is dependent or user of drugs. And if at all he is a user or dependent of drugs, don't throw them in the homes saying that, okay, they will be cured on their own. Send them to a treatment center. Facilitate that treatment centers. Similarly, we work with the superintendents of these homes so that let them know what exactly they should do or how they should identify if a child has already come to the homes. So this is how we are working on the module so that we sensitize them. So they become more sensitive as well as responsible. So this is how we work with prisons as well, and particularly with the youth. When we work with youth, then one thing which we have to tell them is, what we have started telling them now is that, okay, fine, because, as everybody has said, that taking of drugs is very pleasurable. It gives you pleasure. But, as we say, the second stage is harmful. And everybody speaks. Like if you have fever, your body will say that, okay, you have fevers. Take some medicine. Or take care of yourself. Similarly, if somebody is taking drugs, the body at some point of time starts saying that, okay, the drug is harming you. So be careful. The moment a person, we should tell them, okay, it's harmful, the moment you get into harmful effect, then certainly you should abstain from that, start doing it. Because once you graduate from harmful effect to dependent stage, withdrawal by yourself is almost impossible. So then you are totally dependent on others. If they help you, then you work. And let me tell you, there is so much of stigma that even the treatment centers in India is hardly 450 treatment centers across the country. It doesn't even serve around, I think, 5% of the treatment required in the country. So we say that, okay, better don't use it. Better save yourselves. So these are the things how we work when we work with our stakeholders. So the outcomes, it's already here. You can read it out because I think I'm running short of time. I've already crossed the time. So this is how NISD is working. And again, before ending, I would invite you all to partner with NISD in your own way. We are open. Just come and let it make it a campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. All that we need, what we needed was a drug demand reduction plan, and you have given it. And he has also indicated how all those present in this hall can cooperate with him in achieving this drug demand reduction. An action plan is fully ready, and I think we will succeed by 2027. That's your target. Thank you. Next, I call upon Mr. Bruno Albert, who is the Zonal Director of the Narcotic Control Bureau in Chennai. He has been very active in effecting seizures. During the last 2 years, he has effected over 80 seizures in Tamil Nadu and in Kerala. Many of them have come in the newspapers also. I am particularly glad because I share my college with him. He is also an alumnus of the University College Trivandrum. So I am very happy to welcome Mr. Bruno Albert, who is considerably experienced, has been serving for 20 years in different parts of India. So, the stage is for you, Mr. Bruno Albert.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you for Veerendra. First of all, I will talk about the crux of NDPS Act. As sir told, it is one of the most stringent act formed in India after the independence. That's what we also say. It has 3 features. So as sir told, that quantity, classification based on the quantity, means small quantity, intermediate quantity, and commercial quantity. The person who makes money, he is supposed to be in the commercial activity. That is the concept. So 3 types of punishments are enumerated. If it is 2 grams of cocaine, then it is small quantity. If it is in between 3 grams to 100 grams, it is intermediate quantity. And a person who possesses 100-gram cocaine, he is punishable more than 100-gram cocaine if he is found possessing, and the purity is also matching. Then he is supposed to undergo minimum 10 years of punishment. Once it is proved, then even the judge cannot decrease the quantum of punishment, because the minimum punishment is 10 years in India for 100-gram cocaine, 250-gram heroin, 20 kg ganja. This all comes in the commercial quantity. And at the same time, the stringent provisions are there. At the same time, it is highly human act. Why I say it is a highly human act? As per section 64A, 64A says about the voluntary statement of the person who has been caught abuser. Based on that, he can be sent to the de-addiction center. If he runs away from the de-addiction center, or if he is not completing the de-addiction treatment, then he is liable to, the immunity cover is withdrawn, and then he is liable for the legal action. So in that way, nowhere in Indian any of the act, this much of human provisions are there. 64A. You please read once the provision, and it is highly useful. It can be used Whenever a first time, you are coming across a first time abuser, he is with the possession. So this is one thing. And about NCB, I just take three things. It is under the provisions of Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. NCB has been formed in the year 1986, and it has, all over India, there are 13 zonal units. And through that 13 zonal unit, we are enforcing the NDPS Act, being the nodal agency for the nation. And one of such zonal unit is in Chennai. Then in NDPS, there is on the NCB, NDPS, this relating to this, I say about Chapter 5 of NDPS Act. If a person is convicted, then his property and the property of his associates and family members, which has been acquired in the last 5 years, can be confiscated. And it can be auctioned, and the auctioned money is government deposited in the fund for the drug eradication program. So these are the social benefiting clauses are also there in the Act, and we also do our best effort to confiscate the properties also, because a person who acquired money is by spoiling the society. The whole things leads to the spoiling of nation, because it is affecting the brain capacity. So we have to do that, stringent, seeing that the others should not come forth any of such activities. That's what the NCB is also following. So another thing, regarding the drug supply control, here two aspects are also told. It is, we worked on the supply control mainly in the sense, there is an entry point or an exit point for the drug. And we concentrate on the entry and the exit points. That's how our seizures are about 300 kg ganja, 400 kg ganja in a single stretch. Because the moment it is entering, we are catch out of that. The same way, the moment something is going out, like from Kerala or Tamil Nadu, most of the times ephedrine and pseudoephedrine, they are precursors, not the drugs as it is. It is used to make methamphetamine. You should have heard about recently that crystals, ice, meth, these are the code words. So it goes out. So we work on this exit and entry points and the trafficking points from bulk trafficking. So interdict, with the NCB strength alone, we cannot do it. So that sister agencies like any customs, anywhere this interdiction capacity building training programs we are importing. Other than that, awareness programs also we are conducting. In that we say about this demand reduction is also equally important, because against the demand only the supply is made. Just like a taxable item, we cannot sell the drugs to the public. So always there is a demand. And why there is, how we can reduce the demand is, it's a big topic, and there are so many experts sitting here. Still, we say that sensitization, we lack sensitizing the family, sensitizing the education institutions, work institutions. This point somewhere we are lacking. Many of the people doesn't know what are the long-run consequences of drug abuse. They are using it. And many of the people doesn't know how to identify the drug abusers in their family, in their institution, and how this link is working. One example I will tell you, some of the, not majority, but some of the rave parties are conducted actually to trap introduce the drug to the newcomers, new users. There are links, invisible links are there, then we dictated it. They book some resort or something for about 15 lakhs or 20 lakhs and sell the entry ticket for 2,000 or 3,000, just for namesake. And there will be an assembling of 100 people and they are getting only 3 to 4 lakhs. And why they're spending 15 lakhs and on getting an income of only below 5 lakhs, they are satisfied. It is, you say that the modern corporate thinking, customer base acquisition, if I am not wrong, something like that. So there are some agents working in the, targeting the newcomers, new joiners in the institution, and they trap them to their links and take to the rave party. And there are some certain systems, including the girls, are there to introduce how to use the drug, how this benefits and all these things. And people doesn't know. So we have to sensitize. There are traps. It is not that you are going for a weekly enjoyment. So the people lose the health, wealth, family and friends, brain and body. So how they are going to lose in long run, that to be sensitized. Then there is a detection part, because once we detect it, somebody is abusing the drug, what to do next? This awareness is also very much required. Means if it is a first detection, then go for the 64A. Then other than that, then whom we have to inform? This awareness is required. Then how to respond? Means we have to respond in a very 2 minutes only, sir. In a collective manner. That means every inch in India is calculated and responsible to somebody or another one. Means take any inch of forest. It is, the forest is responsible to one forest guard, otherwise a revenue officer or somebody. That without their knowledge, how the cultivation is happening. They are paid by the government to serve the government. Second lapse, there are factories, there's those who are pilferating these drugs or drug making components. They are licensed. And these factories are put under somebody's responsibility, who is getting the salary. So whether we lack norms or the people are irresponsible. This is the question. Because every drug originated either from a land or from a factory. So we need a very coordinated, systematic and loophole-free system to monitor all these activities. Because it is a social cause which is endangering not only our social fabric, it is going to put our country is also in the danger. Because one more aspect, what we smelt is near very hi-fi institutions like IIT and other places, the ganja prices inside that institutions is just cheap. And you just go out of the campus and find out the price there, it is 3 or 4 times higher than that. So that means why? Is there any intentional pumping is happening? Because war is not fought with only weapons. There are so many means to fight. So I conclude my words and let us hold our hand together for a drug-free society, and all the institutions and the families try your level best to sensitize about the danger of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno Albert, for an excellent presentation. Mr. Bruno Albert has highlighted the need for the coordinated and the loophole-free system of monitoring of drug-related activity. He has also invited our attention to Section 64A of the NDPS Act, by which in the first instance, the person can be referred to a de-addiction center. If such de-addiction centers are there, I am sure more such centers should come. He has also stressed the importance of identification of the users at the earliest possible stage so that they can be prevented from further use. And also dwelt, which has come across during his enforcement, the baiting and trapping process that people resort to attract people into drug use by rave parties. These are aspects which you must consider when we try to prevent people from falling into the drug habit. The time is almost exhausted. Now, I have great pleasure in calling upon Mr. D. Rajeev, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Vimukti Mission, as well as the Additional Excise Commissioner, Government of Kerala. Mr. Rajeev, thank you.
Thank you, sir. A very good morning to all. I'm looking after the Vimukti mission of the Excise Department. Basically, the Kerala government has formed one Vimukti mission in 2016. Excise Department in Kerala is mainly looking for two aspects. Our main focus is to reduce the supply side. Not only reduce, it has to be stopped, and reduce the demand side. And for the reduce the supply side, what we have done that we already strengthened our enforcement activities. You can easily see that recently we are confiscating a lot of contrabands from across the Kerala. But that means that the demand side in Kerala is very high. So what we are doing, because the main issue is that the suppliers are having a lot of platforms. The technology has increased by leaps and bounds. That means that they can use various platforms. If anybody wants drugs, they can easily get the drugs. Even if they are sitting in the home also, they can easily get the drugs. So we also started the cyber cell to curb this menace from the society. I just want to introduce you to the more about the Vimukti mission. The Vimukti mission, the government understood the real issues of the drug menace in Kerala, and in 2016 we started Vimukti mission. The main aim of the Vimukti mission is that to create awareness among the, basically to the students. Why we are concentrating on the students? Because nowadays whenever we are taking the cases, we can easily identify that mainly the school children and the adolescents people are more prone to the drug abuse. So mainly we are concentrating to the students, because the students are the future citizens. If we concentrate on the students, and if we could be able to give a good life to that students, easily our future of the country will be in a blossom stage. What we have done that approximately in Kerala, 16,000 schools are there. That includes aided, non-aided, and all the schools. And we, Vimukti Mission, have already started 3,500 anti-narcotic clubs in schools. And what we will do that, one excise official will be deputed for that each school. And what they will do that, they will go on to discuss the various issues with the students. They will discuss the issues with the children, the teachers. And one teachers will be the convener of that de-addiction club. The benefit is that if any issue is coming up in that school, they can easily discuss with the excise officials. They can, if recently, 2-3 days before, one incident had happened that when the excise official went to one school, at that time, some students, they shared that some shops near to that schools are selling the tobacco products or this type of drugs. And we confiscated that items and we closed that shops also. So if they are getting a lot of interaction with the school children. And another aspect is that the preventive approach has to be start from the family itself. First, it has to start from the family. One thing what I understood that the parents are not ready to accept that their children are using the drugs. Nobody will accept that. And some parents will say that, no, our children are not using, so it is not my cup of tea. But they are not understanding that that is very near to their doors. Today or tomorrow, it can come to their home also. So everybody has to take the responsibility. If it is not it is not there in their home, but they have to, as a community, we have to intervene in that matter. So the preventive approach, the training module, we are also doing the training program for PTA. The parents has to get a separate type of training program. The teachers has to get a separate type of programs. The children, the students has to get a separate type of program. So a common curriculum can't be adopted. It should be different for each sections. And one more aspect when I am talking about the enforcement activities, this NDPS Act, the division of NDPS Act as a small, medium, and commercial quantity. That itself is having some problem. The problem is that if a person has been caught with below 1 kilogram this contrabands, he will easily get the bail. What he will do? He will again go to the society and again he will do the same business. So another issue, another aspect, what the government, the Vimukti mission is doing, that this NDPS, I'm not that much familiar with that section 64A, I think if I am correct. What we are doing, that we are sending the children, these adolescents, people to de-addiction centers. Vimukti mission is running 14 de-addiction centers across the Kerala. In each district, we are having one de-addiction center. And that de-addiction center is having 10 bed capacity. Approximate, I think last 2018, November only we started the de-addiction centers. Till now, as per the present statistics, approximately 14,000 people have taken the treatment. And now we want to ascertain that whether the efficacy is there or not. For that purpose, we are also planning to conduct one study. Because we have to, constantly we have to review their cases. Once they come to the de-addiction center and they will go out, and whether they are again taking the drugs or not, that we don't know. For that purpose, what we are doing, that we are going to depute. Now we contacted some of the universities, and they told that the students who are doing the MSW sociology, they will do it as a project work. They will go to the society and they will do the interaction with these people, whether the treatment has been effective or not. And one more aspect what we are doing in Kerala is that sports activities. We have already conducted 4 marathons across the Kerala. In 4 districts we have conducted. A lot of people have participated, a lot of students have participated, and frequently we have been conducting the sports activities. As per the National Action Plan for Drug Demand Reduction, we already started the de-addiction centers. The awareness program, we have taken approximately around 20,000 awareness classes during the last year. Daily, day by day, we have been taking the awareness classes in the schools, in the jails and various areas we are taking the classes. So awareness is the only option to reduce the demand. Because demand has to be reduced from the society. If we are not reducing the demand from the society, the suppliers will be there. And another aspect is that teachers. Teachers has to be sensitized in this matter. Because normally in the previous cases, whenever we are noticing that one student is using the substance, normally the teachers, what they will do that? Oh, he's a deviant. There is no need to give any attention to that person. But now the situation has changed. Now we are interacting with them, and if some information is getting in that matter, suddenly it has to be reported to the Excise department, and we are taking them to the de-addiction centers. We are keeping the privacy also. We are maintaining the secrecy also. We will not publish any type of this activity to the media or nothing, any type of print media. So whatever the way we could be able to do that, all the activities we are doing that, and we are bringing the celebrities also, the SCRT that Sir has already told that, SCRT already incorporated one curriculum in their textbooks. We proposed and they incorporated also. And in all the schools, what we are trying to do that, all the schools, these de-addiction centers will be there in all the schools, and the daily interaction will be there. We already started one mobile application also. In that mobile application, we can directly contact with the concerned teacher of that school. But if any untoward incident is there, they can directly contact us. Sir, by saying this much of first, I am concluding my speech. Anyway, best of luck to you all. Thank you.